Hi, I'm Kenzie Wilson from Stream. For those who don't know, Stream helps developers build engaging apps that scale to millions with performant, flexible chat, video and audio moderation, and feeds APIs. And today I'm joined by Amrita Chaudhry, and she has over 18 years of product experience driving strategy, management, transformation, and innovation across diverse industries. And she now sits as the Director of Product Platform Experiences at AVIV Group. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kenzie, and thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. And thanks for this opportunity to be here.
Yeah, of course. So let's kind of go back to the beginning. So, now you're at AVIV Group, but before that, you've led product at some amazing companies. So if you could just share, kind of your personal journey and then what led to your current position in product leadership.
I think product was, for me, it was like a natural evolution. I would say I started off as an engineer. I used to code. So I was doing coding for printers and C++. Sounds archaic today. And then it was basically wanting to know how and why somebody's doing something. And then it was, the natural thing to get into B school. And after B school, it was like, okay, I'm going to do business analyst, and then it wasn't fun enough because I wanted to do everything end to end, and that got me naturally into product. And I've been doing product in legal tech in Reuters, and then it was fintech in Funding Circle. I've done Deliveroo, and I did AI when AI was not the buzzy thing. So like to 2015, when people used to ask me, what's the full form of like NLP? And everybody today says LLM and NLP as if like it's the thing. So those are the kind of my product bit. And platform also was like I would say organic, because I had the engineering foundation and I had been working in the Salesforce world and a lot of all these infrastructure and capability building exercises. And also platform depends on how you define it. Platform is also about building scale, building harmonizing and bringing people together, and also building for the users. Mm-hmm. So that was like the right thing to do. And for AVIV, it was a really enticing challenge because it was completely something I hadn't done before, doing something very different. And at the same time, getting into the leadership space also was exciting and also humbling, because it's not always a linear journey as you think. So that's kind of, I guess, my way in into this whole journey here. And I'm really happy today, and it's fun, exciting, and challenging.
Yeah, that's great. So now you're at AVIV Group, and you have a platform that goes across multiple brands. So what does that kind of look like in practice, and what does platform experience kind of mean to you and within your position?
Platform experience is like I said, it's like different for different people, but I always think about how to explain this in like very simple terms, like, because this I get this question quite often, and like even when you have to explain to your parents, it's very difficult. What do you do? But I'll just try to try and use an analogy if it makes sense. So platform experience, if you think of it, is let's say you are having a cake, right? That's everybody has a cake. So, but you don't think about the kitchen in which you have this amazing oven which works at the right temperature, you can control it well. You have a kneading machine, so you have a kitchen. And then you have, which is the platform, mm-hmm. right? And then you have, which is the right infrastructure. You've got all the right places. Then you have the ingredients that you need to make the cake. So like you need, for instance, the flour, the right French butter, maybe, whatever you're making out of it. So for that, so you think of APIs, reusable components, all of that you build, those are your ingredients, mm-hmm. right? And then you have the recipes, which are your product features, I think. So like, you make it in a certain style, and this like best login experience, the best search experience that you can get. So what we handle in platform experience is that kitchen and the ingredients. You have to get that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't see what happens there. You only taste the cake, right? Yeah. You use the cake and you're like, this is amazing. But you don't realize the brilliance behind the scenes, and that is platform experience, and that's what we handle. And sometimes it's kind of confused that it's only for internal teams, but we do also for external. Like, when you build APIs for the external developers to build something out of the box, like Stream provides us APIs, right? We build stuff with it. So that is platform experience, and being able to build it to scale and being able to harmonize it, that is platform experience for us.
So you mentioned scale. That's the real challenge. Scaling a seamless, visually consistent experience, especially across Europe, which has a ton of different cultures, languages, all of that kind of stuff. And we know how important it is on our side for Stream to have the global edge network so that everyone has the same kind of experience. There's no latency depending on what country they're in, all of that kind of stuff. But for AVIV, having such that wide footprint, how do you approach building a single platform that's consistent across all of the cultures, all of the countries, with such different users and markets?
I mean, it's funny, and I'm laughing because this is a constant debate within the company itself, right? Like, how do you get to that single platform? And I'll just put some context here because it's very important to understand AVIV because it's not a UK company, so not many people know what it is. AVIV is a conglomerate, and it has, if you think of it, it is like to your point, like 4 different brands, and imagine 4 right moves into one company. So it's that how big it is. So for instance, the French Salogé, which is like 1 million listings, is part of AVIV. ImmoWeb, which is the biggest player in the real estate space in Belgium. Then you have Germany, ImmoWealth. So it's like all of these brands, different philosophies, different ways of working, different systems, 20, 25 years of legacy across each. So you're all coming in together. And then to your question, how do you build a single platform? The answer is it's not easy. It's not available. It's not something like, okay, you click it and it works. But the 4 principles, I think, which my team and we try to work with, and I'll be very cautious in saying work with, because it doesn't always work. But I can only give you some nuggets of what has. So what we start off with was always like we keep the core, we build for the core, and then we think about the local teams, right? Like, okay, how can we enable each team with the local? And for that, we start with a common problem, right? So you always try to start with a common problem across the board because most of the times people go like, oh, that's the edge case and, this team and it's like, it gets me this much revenue and you just focus on that. But actually, we start with a common problem and try to bring it together. And the third one, which we try to follow, but it never works, is we say we'll co-create and, we'll never dictate anything. That's the principle. But frankly, what I have noticed is you have to dictate. You have to say, this is the base. Hey, do you have a problem with it? Because otherwise, the vocal always wins.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the balance we try to strike, and it's tough, but we do that. And one thing that we don't do well enough, and I think we should do, is looking at both global value and local impact. Because we look at sometimes like it depends on who the leader is. You're either focused on the global revenue or the local impact, but not both. I think getting those 2 together helps you build towards that single platform. But like I said, it's a debatable topic whether it really works. But finding a balance is important. That is what I would say. Don't just chase the dream because it just looks nice on paper. Is how I would put it.
Yeah. So you mentioned there's sometimes the global versus the local clash. So do you have an example of maybe one time that's kind of happened and what you were able to do to resolve that?
I think it happens every day. I think the question should be, when did you ever go smoothly? No. It happens every day. And the reason for that is, like I said, you're not always just working on priorities. It's actually you're fighting a lot of philosophies and people and organizational ways of working and just how people think. It's also human, right? So we have to realize it's not about, hey, it's on the list, so you go and do that on the list. So it's not always that. So, and it's funny, and this one really stood out for me because with all this AI buzz, you would think this would work. So we had to do virtual staging. So, in the real estate space, where you can literally show on the screen, you can stage it this way. You can do a Scandinavian decor, or you can do whatever decor on this. And obviously, this is very exciting, and we've seen it in different platforms. And we went like, okay, this is a great idea. We should just do it. And you wouldn't believe, all the local teams went like, no, this doesn't add commercial value. It's a great idea, but no, Okay, so and it was a global thing for us to like, a competition does it, we should do it. But they were like, there is no commercial direct value. Actually, there is no actual direct commercial attribution to it, like if you think of it. So it was a discussion that we had, and it was interesting. The way we tried to go around it was that we did a small scale POC. We just did it in a small market. We engaged only a few clients. So the commercial teams were like, okay, it's not touching our contracts. It's not touching our any areas. You still had to go through legal routes and all of that. So I feel like these kind of situations, the learning was like even AI, buzzworthy topics is not always, and it was refreshing to see that because it's good that we are still grounded and hence you meet your stakeholders where they are. And of course, try to bring in, understand their reality checkpoint. You need to have that, and that's what we did. And then obviously figure out low risk ways of getting your way in, I guess, because sometimes you can build local to get global.
Yeah.
And I think we do generally let's the global solution and get to the local. Sometimes you can go the other way around, and it depends, and it works. And we are still testing this, and hopefully I can go and say that we were right and our hypothesis was right. But yeah, sometimes these things happen.
That makes a lot of sense. And so we know that, at Stream, we know how important communication is, especially in the marketplace space. It's not just about the listings, it's about trusting the person, having, good decisions and conversations with whoever you're interacting with. And so what role does real-time communication play for AVIV?
Oh, it is the most important thing, I think, more than anything else. I mean, and I don't know if your question's more around internally or externally, but both areas. This is the most, especially in this very virtual world that we are in today. That's the means, isn't it? Like, and everything, especially for chat, if I have to talk about why we are also interested in this space, is because you really need to keep your audience or your users within your platform, right? Stickiness is the thing, right? I don't want to shoot an email and I don't know what happens after that. So the real-time communication is not just about, it's about enabling users, but also about ensuring that they get the best out of our platform. So that's why this is critical for us. It's the most important thing, I think.
And so how have you kind of evolved and integrated chat within AVIV to kind of reach those goals of?
So the first thing that we have done is like C2C chat. So essentially we have, so right now our focus is on ensuring, so AVIV is into, two different sectors of users. You can think of pro users and the private users. So private users are the users like you and me who want to sell a house, and they're in the market, and so we launched that in Germany. And what we really believed in is that the way for a conversation to happen between a person like you and me, and with the shift of the demographics, of course, is via chat. Because the other option is that an email goes to you and then you kind of have this conversation. And what I loved about Stream when we did this, and it kind of gradually evolved, was that it's very important to understand that safety is an underlying theme. Like, a lot of people don't pay attention to this. Like, let's just do, it's an ancillary service, give a chat on the platform and it works. But what actually we forget is that it needs to be a safe environment for having a conversation. It shouldn't be, hey, give me £1 million in my account next, right? This is your number. So I think that completely changes the way we look at these things. And Stream was very helpful, and for this space, for the owners specifically, like a person like you, chatting with somebody like you, like I'm selling a house, you want to buy my house, we're having a conversation. It has to be a very normal conversation where I can actually have a discussion and then show you my house and then you can buy it. So for having that, I think that's one thing that we have really invested in, and we believe this will increase stickiness, ensure conversion. We haven't proved it yet, but I think it will definitely lead to conversion. And most importantly, it will bring in confidence of users to be on the platform. And that I think is a win for us. And that's what we are looking for. And then we would love to expand it to seeker, like the agents. So for instance, you can talk to a Moxie or those kind of the agents in the market. So definitely we want to do that. But it's not a thing in Europe. It's not as popular as it is in UK. So European market is very different. It's okay in Belgium, for instance. In France, it's not a thing. So you have to tread the waters as you kind of see what happens and works in the market.
Of course. And that's great to hear that it's really important for your platform. And so when you were, deciding, okay, chat is something that we need and you were looking to implement it, were you looking at anybody else or were you considering building it in-house, and kind of how did you make that decision to go with Stream?
Yes, for every decision, it's always build and buy for us. The other thing that we do is build, buy, and I do it with my team, is do nothing. That's also an option.
That's
it's
fair.
like, because like a lot of times people are just like, we have to build it. But it's sometimes build, buy, and do nothing. So yes, for Stream, absolutely. We went to the market. We had an RFP exercise. We had a list of use cases and requirements that is in a normal process that we do. And it's very important for anything that we do. Even for virtual staging, we did the same thing. For everything, we definitely go through the build and buy exercise.
That's awesome. And so now that we're kind of wrapping up here, let's look forward. So we, at Stream, we just released our 2025 product roadmap. I'm sure AVIV is kind of looking at the same thing. It's always what's next. So what trends are you currently seeing within not just AVIV, but the industry as a whole, and maybe some things that you guys are looking forward to bringing on in 2025?
I'll talk about what I am very keen about, and especially because of my platform. I'm in the platform world, and I'm quite keen about it. Of course, the AI stuff is there, Gen AI and all of that, and I'm not going to talk about that. But I'm quite interested in what we call in our world is proprietary data.
Okay.
And that's not really it's a very interesting topic, because you don't always. You'll be surprised like how much information is not available in Europe as it is in the UK. For instance, you don't know the sold property data. So how much was this last price of the house that you bought is available here, right? Like you have a plugin from Rightmove which you can find, but it's not available in Europe very easily. So which means it affects the way we do our estimation models, the way we do how you even make a choice. So that kind of proprietary data is very important. Like, how many times was your house plumbed? That's important to know. And we pay here for doing those kind of surveys, right? So having that kind of proprietary data is going to change the market, like who runs the market basically in real estate. And I think that's where I would like us to get to, apart from all the pricing and all of the data. So that kind of data insights and bringing that in. And second, I would like, which is a little bit in the AI world, but like a little different, is the prompt libraries. I think people don't pay attention to it, but search experiences are going to change with the way we do prompt libraries, the way you design your prompts, and how much you can predict that prompt I think it's going to change. And lastly, this is very, very close to my heart because we've been exploring this, is it's going to change the way we do operating model as we move forward. You have to make space for engineers who are prompt engineers who work on different kind of other AI world, and this is going to change, and we need to work for it, because right now we don't have that kind of setup, right? And I'm so passionate about the API space, and that's changing too. Like recently, my architect and we were discussing about this. So Anthropic has released Model Context Protocol, which changes the way APIs work, right? Or APIs don't exist anymore. And if that's the case, then we have to prepare for it, right? And we have to start thinking about it right now, because it's going to change the way it works. So I think these are the three things I'm very passionate about. Of course, there are a lot of other things that which goes into the roadmap and little things that we have to do.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's great. Thank you so much again for joining today and sharing, your thoughtful approach to platform experiences, things people should be paying attention to, all of that great stuff. And for everyone listening, if you're building platforms that need to scale, communicate, and connect, be sure to check out Stream.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so
It was
much.
lovely talking to you.